Don't get fined $10,000 by the US government. That is my motto, as I assume any other business owner's motto as well. And today we're going to be discussing a new report that needs to be filed for business owners by the end of 2025 in the majority of instances, and in some cases sooner. And what we're going to be discussing is the new beneficial ownership information report that has to be filed by every business owner in the United States. Otherwise, you could face fines of up to $10,000 and 2 years of imprisonment. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, as you can see here, I have pulled up my screen at fincen.gov/BOI. That is the website for the information on the beneficial ownership information, which is a new reporting requirement that started on January 1st, 2024, and business owners, for the majority of us, have until January 1st, 2025 to file this. Now, there's a bunch of information out there. There's also a bunch of scams out there. I'm just going to put this out there that I am not a lawyer, an accountant, a tax person, anything. I'm just giving you this information to tell you, hey, this is something you should be checking out in your business so that you don't get fined up to $10,000. Now, let me show you that before I get into what this really is, because here on this website, this is deep within the information on this new reporting requirement, is that the penalties that individuals face for violating these requirements are up to $500 each day, or that person may also be subject to criminal penalties of up to 2 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. Now, this is for anyone that willfully violates the BOI reporting requirements. They may be subject to these fines. For any of us, that could mean that we just missed the reporting deadline. We didn't realize that it was something that we had to do. So I want you to be aware that whether you're doing Amazon FBA, e-commerce, some other business, ultimately we need to be up to date on these reporting requirements in our business. Now, as you can see here on this website, it shows when do I report. If your company was created or registered prior to January 1st, 2024, then you have until January 1st, 2025 to report this beneficial ownership information report. Now, if your company was created or registered on or after January 1st, 2024 and before 2025, then you must report the BOI within 90 calendar days after receiving actual or public notice that your company's creation or registration is effective, whichever is earlier. So if you created your business in 2024 in the United States, then you have 90 days after that date to be able to file this BOI report. If you're someone that created it before January 1st of 2024, then you have until the end of 2024 to get this done. And now the next step is, if this is after 2025 when you are seeing this, then you only have 30 calendar days after receiving an actual or public notice that your business was created or registration was effective. So if you're watching this sometime in the future and it's 2025, you need to be sure that you're doing this within 30 days after you have actual or public notice that your business was created or registered. Now, this is important because as business owners, these are things that are easy to miss. So I highly recommend talking to your accountant or tax person, as well as talking to a lawyer, someone that can help you through with this. But if you're trying to get through this and do this on your own, then if you go to fincen.gov/BOI, that link is above, and we'll be sure to put it here in the description for you so it'll pop up. Ultimately, here's the information for how you file. If you qualify for an exemption, because there are some businesses that will qualify for an exemption, there are few cases, but it still can happen. So be sure to look at that. And then how do you get a FinCEN ID? All of these questions are covered here for you if you want to get the answers to them. Now, there is also a brochure on how to do this reporting. You can see here, it gives a little bit more background on this actual act that in 2021, Congress enacted the Bipartisan Corporate Transparency Act to curb illicit finance. Essentially, they're trying to stop people from having shell companies and putting illegal finances into legitimate businesses and trying to operate in that way. And this is going to allow the government to be able to see and make sure that the businesses that are operating are doing so above board and in the right way. Essentially, this law is going to require many companies doing business to report information about who ultimately owns or controls them. And so that is going to be what they're trying to get the information for. Should be fairly simple, especially as we get used to this process. And as I'm assuming business ownership creation continues on into 2025 and even in 2024, they may have more tools at your disposal to be able to help you file this information up front if you're creating any new businesses. So who has to report? Now, companies required to report are called reporting companies. Reporting companies may have to obtain information from their beneficial owners and report that information to FinCEN. Now, the company may need to report if it's a corporation, a limited liability company or an LLC, or was otherwise created in the United States by filing a document with the Secretary of State or any similar office under the law of state or Indian tribe, or or a foreign company and was registered to do business in any U.S. state or Indian tribe by such a filing. So basically, almost every business is going to have to do this. There are exceptions, and you can find that at the website that I mentioned earlier. They do have an FAQ, which it shows the exceptions, but ultimately this is going to be the majority of businesses. Now, I will warn you once again, even here, there's an alert that FinCEN has learned of fraudulent attempts to solicit information from individuals and entities who may be subject to reporting requirements under the Corporate Transparency Act. So be sure that if you're doing this, you're working with someone you know, like, and trust, that you're not receiving some sort of a spam call that's trying to get you to give them the information, that you're not going to some sort of sketchy website that's charging you a bunch of money to be able to do this, or even saying they'll do it for free for you if you give them your information. Find someone that you know, that you like, that you trust, a company that can help you with this, or file it yourself and go through that process of doing this in your own business. Ultimately, as business owners, we are responsible for the documents that get filed on our behalf. We're responsible for how we file those things and for understanding how the business operates. So it's something that we should be aware of and only work with companies that we know, like, and trust. Now, the specific information that the company is going to need to report is here. A reporting company will need to provide, 1, its legal name and any trade name or DBA, or doing business as name that you might have. 2nd, its address. 3rd, the jurisdiction in which it was formed or first registered, which may be different if you've moved, depending on whether it's a U.S. or foreign company. And 4, its tax identification number. For each of your company's beneficial owners and each company applicant, if required, your company will need to provide the individual's 1, legal name, 2, birth date, 3, address, in most cases a home address, and 4, an identifying number from a driver's license, passport, or other approved document for each individual, as well as an image of the document that the number is from. So as you can see, it's not a ton of information or difficult to obtain information if you're a legitimate business operating properly, but ultimately this is something where the government's trying to make sure that they've got the right owners, that there's people not using businesses as a way to move money around or in some sort of fraudulent or illegal way. And this is something that has to be done. Otherwise, you could be facing the fine or the penalty of up to $500 per day and up to 2 years in prison and $10,000. So we definitely want to make sure that we are avoiding those fees. Now, if you have any questions or comments on this video, I recommend actually that you talk to your lawyer or your accountant, but feel free to leave comments down below. I can guarantee if it's a legal question, I will not be able to answer that. But if it's something that you're trying to comment, you have questions about other things, please post them below. For anybody that's an Amazon seller, if you're interested in starting a side hustle, I recommend checking out my 30-day free training at askjimmysmith.com/free training. And I hope this video helps you and blesses you, and you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.